Sorry? Good evening. My name is Peter Alford. I'm the President of the Gungahlin Community Council, and this is the March 2021 meeting of the Community Council. We do have a guest speaker today who's running just a few minutes late, so we're just going to skip forward on the agenda, which for those who haven't had a chance to review it, is here. So we are hoping to see Minister for Sport and Recreation, Yvette Berry, to provide an update on where things are at with the problems at the Gungahlin Leisure Centre 50-metre pool, and we're just waiting for the Minister to show up. So what we'll do now is I'll push on with the monthly Community Council update, or we might pause briefly. Yeah, okay, timing is everything. It looks like the Minister has just arrived, so we might get organised. Actually, let's push on. Let's quickly do the update, and then we'll get back to Minister Berry, and that'll give her a chance and her team to settle in. Our last meeting was in February, and it has been a spectacular month, and leading up to this meeting, but the coming month is particularly exciting because the Celebrate Gungahlin Festival is back. So we haven't had one for a couple of years. We've struggled for a variety of reasons to get it up, but a committee made up of communities of work, the Gungahlin Community Council, Barnardo's, Northside Community Services, and a couple of local individuals have done a great job to pull a fantastic program together. Unlike it being a single one-day festival, it's a series of events spread across the week. It's actually a really interesting program, really exciting. I've signed up for a couple of things on the Sunday, and I'd encourage everyone to get involved. And if you do nothing, come along to the market day on the Saturday, and we'll have a stall there, and there may be a secret, amazing, specially brand marked GCC giveaway, mail order providers notwithstanding. So website's up, celebrategungahlin.com.au. Go and have a look. It looks like it's going to be a big week. And we've finally managed to get one of our Smoke Signals newsletters out. The newsletter is now less a bunch of original content and more a repackaging and publishing in a hard copy form those significant and impactful articles and articles of interest from our website. So most of these things you may have seen on the website. If you haven't, then this is obviously a great way in which you can find them. We've obviously using the same branding that we're using for Celebrate Gungahlin, and you'll see a couple of the things that I'll talk about in a moment or two. Also mentioned in here, the Celebrate Gungahlin Festival, the Gungahlin Markets, Yerrabee Pond Petition, and some of the big issues that we're working on at the moment, the future of the Gungahlin Town Centre, issues with parking and traffic around the town centre, and land release programs. On that note, it was pretty auspicious. In February, a lot of work over many years has culminated in private motion being put forward by Suzanne Orr in the Legislative Assembly and passed around some real challenges with development in the Gungahlin Town Centre. We're very grateful for Suzanne for pushing this, but as I'll make a point in the very next slide, it was supported by all three parties represented in the ACT government. We had both Leanne Castley from the opposition and Andrew Braddock from the Greens contributing to and amending the motion and supporting it. The gist of it is that there's more work needed by the government to improve the quality of and the speed of development in the Gungahlin Town Centre, that we need to push forward with things that all the parties made commitments to, we develop further a decent employment base in Gungahlin. And if it's not a giant government agency, then we need to work on what it is actually going to be. We've written up the details of all this here, but what I'd really like to encourage you to do, and I know you've all got copious spare time, but Assembly on Demand is quite edifying, and I took the time to go and see the original motion. Here's Suzanne speaking to the motion. But then it's followed by other MLAs speaking to it. There was a response from Minister Gentleman, who's the Minister for Planning. And you learn a lot via watching Assembly on Demand. And I would encourage you particularly to go and see this. A lot of the advocacy over several years from the GCC, not just me, but my team and predecessors before me, are acknowledged by some of the MLAs speaking to that you voted in at the last election, and I think that's really impactful. Come the details of it around how do we get mixed use? What does mixed use mean? Because I've seen 3 DAs in the last 12 months where you might have 500 units and 2 commercial tenancies, and that doesn't feel very mixed to me. How do we modify or help the government look at what modifying the sales process to make outcomes better? There's a whole raft of issues around draft variation 364. Might not mean too much to you, but I do encourage you to look at it. It matters, and it's become a bit of a mess inside planning, and that also got to mention in this. And we need to get the community engaged, and that really is what next steps are, and that's what we and others are working on. Look, the other thing that you start doing when you start watching Assembly on Demand, it's going to be your next favourite streaming experience, I know that, is you can start watching some of the committees. And in fact, one of the most useful sources of information about the Gungahlin pool situation is watching Minister Berry and others from the Directorate talking to the Sport and Recreation Committee. And there's a lot of detail in that. So I'd suggest you get onto that. But in the Planning Subcommittee review, one of the things that came out of that was this comment from Ben Ponton that the system that they're currently working with in planning is not delivering good outcomes. The process is, the legislation and rules-based system is resulting in decisions that the planning agency knows aren't good and the community doesn't want, but the legislation drives them through that. And there's a review of the territory plan, the territory planning system underway at the moment, and the Gungahlin Community Council and the other community councils in Canberra, represented by the combined community councils of Canberra, continuing to pursue the planning department on how the engagement for that planning rework is going to happen. That is not what I expected. Okay, oh, sorry. And then a further update, this is essentially a piece of information I provided last month. The Environment Planning Sustainable Development Directorate are initiating an assessment of community and recreation facilities in Gungahlin, something the Community Council has spoken to Minister Berry about maybe a year or so ago, a while back. Although the assessment being undertaken is much broader, as you can see here, a very wide range of topics. We've had a very brief conversation with the consultants undertaking a desktop analysis, and we've been having a dialogue with the Planning Directorate around how the community is going to be engaged in this, because kind of hard to plan community services without engaging the community. But frankly, we've not seen a lot of detail on that, and we continue to persevere with that, and we are drafting up some letters to Minister Giron on that topic. I just want to quickly mention the Yerrabee Pond petition. John Beagle, John, give us a wave there, he's back there. A local resident has taken the initiative with the support of Michael Pedersen, Yerrabee MLA, to initiate a petition, and of course in the 21st century they're an online petition or an e-petition, to essentially improve Yerrabee Pond. Yerrabee Pond has the potential to be a truly high quality, high density recreational and relaxation environment, but really has struggled a bit in terms of upkeep over the years and a plan for ongoing and continued development. And that's highlighted in John's e-petition, where he's looking to establish an oversight body, a Friends of the Yerrabee Pond Association, improve the handing, washing and toilet facilities in the area, improve the signage. We have a very high use path. I remember the stories about Lake Burley Griffin path having to be one way during the pandemic because too many people were using it. We have a lot of traffic going around Yerrabee Pond, and the inevitable conflict between walkers and runners and cyclists and e-scooters and powered skateboards and all the other stuff that you get on paths. Looking at upgrading the Western Children's Playground and just maintaining the pond and keeping it up to date. This is a link to the petition. If you want to read, go and search for e-petitions ACT, you'll find it. Or you can download these PowerPoint slides off our website under our agenda. And so you can go straight to the link. The petition closes end of the month, John? Yes. End of the month, so you've got a couple of weeks to get cracking on that. There is a Clean Up Yerrabee Day being run by, remind me, John? This Saturday. And we'll push out details for that on our Facebook page, which we haven't done so yet. John, did you want to say anything particularly, or we covered most of the key points?
I think you've covered most of it, just that we have ramped up and the e-petition is
Yep.
going ahead. We have physical
E-petition going ahead.
got
Yep.
several hundred
Several hundred
signatures there.
signatures in
At
hard
the
copy.
present time, we're formulating the friends, so there
Yep.
are 6 of us at the moment.
Core group
Now,
of 6
2 of
being
those
formulated.
6 are not here tonight,
Yep.
unfortunately, but they have gone to the extent of producing, I
Yep,
think,
there's a flyer out.
note
Mhm.
to go up around the pond in time for Saturday's
Great.
clean-up.
So yeah, signage around the pond for Saturday.
Request to do something about Yarrabee Ponds.
Great.
The background, very briefly, is that it was
All
built
right.
in 1999.
2 seconds.
1999.
Hang on, I'll just put John on very quickly. You got 60 seconds, John.
It was opened in 1999 and it's in a parlour state because it hasn't been maintained, whereas other places such as Tuggeranong Pond have got $4.5 million through Mr Gentleman, who tells us there are no plans to put any more toilets up here and, by inference, spend no more money up here. The traders around the lake are very frustrated and people generally think it's very unkempt and unsuitable place where we now have a population of some 80-odd thousand, probably 100,000 by a couple of years' time. When it was built in 1999, there was about 12,000. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, John. It's a great initiative from John, and it's consistent with a lot of complaints we've got over the years, so we're looking to do as much as we can to help that process along. All right. With that short interlude, I will now return to our agenda and shortly invite Minister Berry up. Obviously, I think most people in Gungahlin, most people in the ACT, and it turns out people outside the ACT are aware of the challenges we've had with the Gungahlin pool. There's been a lot of media in the last few months and a lot of reporting. And we've had some recent announcements about a go-forward strategy for the pool. Minister Berry did organise an opportunity for the Gungahlin Community Council to tour the pool on Thursday last week. Apart from the obvious, pools are very, very big when they're empty and you're standing in the middle of them. It's a very sad sight to see an empty pool, particularly one with bits falling off. So certainly the key message we took away from the government representatives who were there, and one of those here tonight, was time is of the essence, and yes, we need to do a good job in getting it repaired, but getting it done in good time was one of the key pieces. So with that brief interlude, I'll invite Minister Berry to come up and speak and perhaps take some questions. So hopefully you can get all of that on. So you're streaming on live.
Yep, okay.
Show you something.
Yep.
No slides?
Do I just hold it? No,
Yep,
no
just hold it.
slides, just me. Thanks very much, and thanks everyone for giving me the chance to come out tonight to the Gungahlin Community Council to give you a bit of an update on what's been happening at Gungahlin Pool. See, Leanne's here as well. I know she's had a very keen interest in the Gungahlin Pool for some months now, and before Christmas we had some conversations which didn't have a lot of detail in them, but we have a lot more detail now that we've been able to share with the community about what's been happening at Gungahlin Pool. And I think you're right, when I visited Gungahlin Pool a few weeks ago as well, it is definitely not the happiest place at the moment. Quite a sad sight to see a big empty pool with tiles coming off. But now we have some more news tonight that we can share with you and a way forward. So most of you will know by now that in March last year, during COVID, the pool along with other facilities in the ACT were closed. And during that time, the ACT government took the chance to do some remediation work on all of the pools and that were closed down as a result of COVID. Unfortunately, with Gungahlin Pool, after it was closed down, other issues arose that we couldn't completely identify, and there were other issues that were discovered at the pool. So between March and June, these other complications were identified, as well as the emptying of the pool for COVID and some of these other repairs that were taking place. So from June until the end of the year, I'm being fairly broad with the time frame. If you want specific dates, I've got my colleagues here from Major Projects Canberra and from EPSDD who can give you some more detail on actual dates. But broadly speaking, between June and December, a number of experts were engaged, and there were 3 reports developed which identified a number of issues that could have been the cause of the tiles of the tiles falling off. At the same time, the Government Solicitor's Office was engaged to provide advice to the government about a way forward with the developer of the pool in the past, and then a way forward as far as how the repairs could occur either with the existing builder or what the future would hold, and providing legal advice on behalf of the government. That took some time as well, and the negotiations with the builder of the pool took some time. But then a couple of weeks ago, or a week ago, we were managed to get an outcome through the negotiations with the Government Solicitor's Office and Major Projects and EPSDD with the developer of the pool to come into an agreement about a way forward for the government to start actually doing work on the pool. And so now we then were able to go out to tender to contract the repair work for the Gungahlin pool to another contractor to start those works immediately, with a time frame of at least before the end of the year or for the summer period, so that people could get back into the 50-metre pool by the summer. Today that contract has been agreed to and signed with Kinetic. Kinetic did the repair work at Erindale Pool, and we believe that they're probably the best contractor to do that work. As soon as all of the details are done and the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, all the contract information will be available on the ACT Government's contract website, so you can go into that and have a look at the price. I just don't have the price from the time I walked in until now for that, but that'll be available soon on the government's contract website. So all the way through this sorry tale, and it has been incredibly frustrating, and I completely understand it's been annoying for everybody, the process that this has taken, the time it's taken, but at the very heart of this was getting the pool back as soon as we could, and not putting the territory at risk as well. So that's where the Government Solicitor's advice meant that unfortunately there wasn't a lot of detail that we could provide at the time, and when we were taking this through with Leanne and other members of Yerrabee last year, we didn't have a lot to say because we were advised that we couldn't say anything much back then. So that's where it is at the moment, and as I said, if you want to go down into the detail of actual dates or other issues, I should say there's another couple of things. On the 3 reports, at the moment they're not public, but I've asked for the directorates to get in touch with the report developers to get their permission to see if we can make those reports public. But at the moment, because they are the reports of third parties to government, we need to get their permission to see if we can get those reports made public. And that's the advice of the Government Solicitor's Office on the actual contract the arrangement that we made with the builder of the pool. That is also not public at the moment, and I'm just getting some advice to see if we can make that public as well, which I don't think there's a problem with because all the information is out there. So as soon as I've got that advice, we'll make that public as well. And thirdly and lastly, before we go into questions, is how we're going to keep the community updated on what's going on. Part of the contract arrangements we've wanted to make clear with Kinetic, who will be doing the work, is that we want this to be a very transparent process. It's my aim to provide information to the YMCA for them to put on their website or Facebook page, or at the front of their pool every fortnight, and we can provide that information to the Gungahlin Community Council as well, and other members of the Assembly who are interested. But we'll try and make it as public and as accessible as possible for as a wider range of the Gungahlin community as we possibly can.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions? Yes. Okay. So we do have a small challenge around microphones. So perhaps ask the question, Leslie, and if the Minister wouldn't mind repeating it, and you'll just hold the comm.
So I might...
So Leslie, go. You're the only microphone.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess a two-part question. During the original construction of the pool, were there actually government inspectors involved in the building process to ensure standards and quality were maintained?
Yes.
And in the subsequent repair, seems to, and I don't know if it was the case in the pool, but in the building industry, where the developer or the builder employs the inspectors to do the inspection, to give it a tick.
Yeah, no, I understand that there were government inspectors involved and that it did meet the Australian standards at the time. And that yes, there will be regular inspections. We know how dearly this pool is held by the Gungahlin community. It was a long time waiting for it to come, and then when it arrived, it wasn't here for very long for people to use. So yes, we'll make sure that that is absolutely the case, that there will be some very transparent and obvious oversight of the pool. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any others? Yes, Mike. Disappointed if you didn't ask.
So would I.
What were the remediation works that was happening in March? What were they, and were there major issues known before March with the build that had already been raised with them?
It was one wall of the pool where some tiles were, there was some delamination of the tiles on, which is tiles falling off, on one side of the pool. If I can probably ask somebody from the Directorate to give some more detailed technical advice on that. Here, do you want to just use this? We can just share the space.
During that March period, we took the opportunity just to do some maintenance jobs that would normally have to involve closing the pool down. So my understanding what we did in Gungahlin was just some work around the plant, but just regular routine maintenance there. But it was during that time there that we, as the Minister mentioned, that we just noticed some tiles coming off the pool. So yeah, that's what was undertaken. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Darren.
One of the difficulties with speaking to that is one of the difficulties with being able to litigate against the people that did the initial construction is that you couldn't verify exactly what caused the problem, and therefore that made it difficult in order to pursue that avenue. If you haven't quite figured out what caused the issue initially, how can having a new contractor where you haven't identified the problem, how can people be sure that the new tiling process won't have the original fault as well?
So the question, you've asked the question, so it's just a bit technical. I might just get somebody else.
That's a reasonable question. And one of the choices we had to, Adrian Piani, ACT Chief Engineer, and also involved in Major Projects Canberra, so run the construction procurement team that'll be delivering the rectification works, if you like. It's a very good question, obviously. We had a choice of perhaps just fixing the tiles that are delaminated and hoping that the patchwork of fixed tiles would hold up, and it may have. But also I think the advice we got from our experts was that there was a reasonable risk that it wouldn't. So to gain more confidence for the community that once we did this once and we had a better chance of it succeeding, was we decided that we would do a whole rectification of the pool, that is remove every tile in the pool and start again with a new system. So this is not a process of just removing some of the tiles we think are suspect and replacing them with a like product. It's removing all the tiles in the pool with a new design and a new system that gives us more confidence that we won't be returning to this problem. I mean, one aspect of that, and one of the checks we did do, was fundamentally the structural integrity of the pool, because there's no point retiling it if it's cracked or moving. So that was quite a significant issue if it had been that, but the reports back from our structural engineer gave us some confidence that that was not the issue. So therefore, we've got a sound structure to work off. But as I said, we didn't want to take the risk that we might have 2 or 3 or different types of tiles and adhesive and a patchwork of different strengths in the pool that could lead us to a similar problem down the track. So for everyone's confidence and ability to use the pool, better off to strip it tiles and start basically with a new layering system. It's fundamentally different from what we did in 2013, 2014.
I did have a question on that one, but I'll hold it for a second. Anyone else? You might go right going home.
I understand that this is not considered a warranty issue, and partly because the warranty has expired. When did the warranty expire, and when was the issue first noticed?
Not sure that we classify it as a warranty expiring, but there is an issue with the warranty going to the head contractor rather than directly to the ACT government. And then you've got to look at what the warranty covers. And as purchasers of products, we know that warranties can cover different things, and whether the covered workmanship is one aspect. Did it cover the product? And so if it covers workmanship, and then you can see the legal arguments we start to get into. It's about the workmanship of the original construction and the different elements that go into that workmanship, and whether it was indeed the contractor's fault. Was there issues subsequent to 2014 that contributed to the tile failure? So from my perspective, seeing the legal advice, because it was multifaceted, it was not obvious that there was one single issue that we could confidently point the finger at, that wanting to go to a long legal dispute process, which may have taken 3 years, advice was it would have cost us 300 to 400 grand, perhaps, just in legal fees. And we may have ended up at the end of that process with a loss and having to field the costs of the contractor, and a delay to getting the pool back, because if we're going down a litigation path, the contractor by rights needs access to the pool to do their own testing and assessment, and we wouldn't be standing here today saying we've signed a contract with a new contractor to fix the pool. So I think we all wanted a result that got this pool back in operation as quickly as possible, or that was one of the factors. And of course, cost and the ability to recoup costs from the original contractor comes into it. So the legal advice that I saw, it could not definitively point the finger at one thing with enough confidence that we could go into a litigation process. It'll take 3 years and be very, very confident of success. So I think when you look at the decisions we're trying to make here, balancing the needs of community to get the pool back as quickly as we can, confidence in the solution, perhaps, and the ability to stand here to say, so we've got a signed contract. I think it was, on balance, a reasonable decision to proceed in the way we have.
So I'll ask a question while I'm going over. One of the challenges having the 50-metre pool and the 25-metre pool on the same roof is there'll be a fairly major piece of work to make good, strip off the tiles, and then do that. How do you see the operation of the pool progressing? Will the whole building have to be shut down, or do you hope to be able to keep it? Or does the Y expect to be able to keep trading even though the new contractor is going to be in there working?
Certainly the plan is to keep the pool operational. Safety is always our most important value and trait when we're implementing these projects, but at this stage the plan is to keep the facility operational and work around, fundamentally I would assume with secure fencing. It is at least isolated in some ways from the main area. So the plan is to keep the facility functioning while we do the works.
Thank you. And when you get asked a question, if you could repeat a little bit of it, because that microphone's the only one going to Facebook, not this one. So.
Thank you. I just have a question about the process that Kinetic was engaged. Did you say it was on the Tenders ACT website now?
No, it'll be uploaded. So we've just signed the contract. So there's a bit of a process we go through to upload the contract. But we have a contracts register in government where pretty much all our major contracts are uploaded. Anyone can search on it. It's not too hard to find, but it's easy enough for us to give direction on how to find that information.
And was Kinetic the only one that tendered for the work?
Now we're starting getting to different delivery models at government's availability. We have what's called a PMA panel, Project Management Agreement panel. It's a panel where contractors are, if you like, pre-qualified to undertake work for the ACT government. And this particular panel enables us to fairly much go to a contractor to ask for a price. And of course we go through a selection process. We've got, look off the top of my head, just under 20 contractors on that list, so a pretty reasonable list of contractors we can go to. And go through an assessment process to consider which ones we think would be best placed for an individual job. And as discussed, Kinetic has got a good track record with a similar work, so we had some confidence in their ability. Of course, if we weren't entirely satisfied with their response back to us, we have the ability to look at other avenues.
Were they the experts, part of the expert team?
No, the expert team, you'd imagine we need to go to individual experts that have particular skills in certain areas, so structural engineer was one of them, and a tile expert that could really explore the grouts, the adhesive, the tiles, etc. So they were the two experts that we called in. Now the head contractor, as they do, will form a team based on their individual experts and suppliers, Through this contract mechanism, we have a fair oversight of those decisions, and so we're very conscious of the need for high quality, I guess, in this case, as we always are, but particularly in this area. So we get a good line of sight of the teams that will be put together to deliver this. And as well as that contractor, there's plans to have our own experts to provide support through that process. So, mentioned inspections and quality assurance to provide extra insight.
Just so I'm clear, so did you guys, how did they know that they should tender to be one of the parties to be considered?
Kinetic?
Yeah.
Well, we approached them.
You approached them, okay.
Any more?
Minister, you said that you were told you shouldn't be communicating with the community last year, and that's where I think a lot of the frustration was last year, is that there was absolutely silence from the government on this. So why weren't you communicating with us at that time when, it could have been quite clear to come out and say there's been some major issues found and give some kind of time frame as to what the delays were going to be? Because I would have thought that it would have been quite clear pretty early on that this was a substantial thing. And it would be reasonable to say, there's not going to be a pool during the summer.
So the question that's been asked is, why didn't I communicate earlier about the issues with the school, with the pool closing down? And was because the advice that I had was that I couldn't tell a lot, that the YMCA had already communicated with the community that the pool was going to be closed for a bit longer, but the detail of what was going on at the pool at that time, I was advised that I couldn't. And I know that's frustrating for everybody, but I asked the Government Solicitor's Office what I could say, and they said it would be safer for the Territory Government if I didn't say anything.
Well, that's no doubt I'll pay them off that advice too. Any other questions? Yep, Henley, just a minute.
Thank you for coming tonight. So the warranty is it for just for 4 years?
6.
6 years. So if the warranty expired and the builders are not entitled to fix the pool, why would they pay $400,000?
Look, I might have to get somebody else, because these were negotiations that I wasn't part of. But it was a decision on the advice of the Government Solicitor's Office that was the most reasonable outcome that we could get as a territory, to get some of the funding that would be required to start the repairs, but not responsibility for the whole issues that were being identified in the pool. Is that short?
Oh, look, I think ultimately that question can only be answered by the contractor. I don't know how they're negotiating, what they're worried about or what they aren't. This is a legal negotiation with a contractor and government, in this case, another party. So I can't speak for why they made certain decisions, but I think the point that we got to was a reasonable point. So certainly, don't know what the right word is, but the offer from the contractor was accepted and was seen to be a very reasonable offer. They could have offered zero. They could have offered zero, and who knows where that would have ended up. So the amount they offered was not sure on what basis they made that offer, and as a commercial company there might have been a whole range of things in their minds, including reputation, that they thought better off to come to the party and negotiate a settlement.
So that information, what happens, so that will be available to public at some stage?
Which information? Sorry.
The negotiation that happened between the builder and the government?
No, I don't think so. As I said, I don't know the decision-making of the contractor. I don't know why they made decisions as they did, and they certainly would not have documented it to their client to perhaps open up other avenues of attack, I guess. This was a negotiation done where both parties had to come to an agreement. So in terms of that negotiation, no, I don't expect that there'll be any public disclosure of how that was, the content of that negotiation.
So the other question I had was, so moving forward with the repair and build, what kind of contract we have? So usually the building contract goes like 10 years warranty. If it's a major issue, then it's covered. In the previous contract, I'm not sure why it wasn't covered and why it was a 6-year contract. Even the commercial, residential building in ACT, major things requires 10 years warranty. So considering the massive pool, how can we, in the first place, we went with a 6-year contract, and I don't know, we agreed on it, and now moving forward with the repair and stuff, what kind of warranty you guys taking?
Yeah. I can talk to the warranties. One change we've made is we're taking the warranty directly to government, so not through the head contractor, so we have more control over that warranty. And I'll also again say that a warranty is not a guarantee of any rectification works or obligation on the contractor, so it depends on the I guess what the warranty covers. So at least we've made a change this time around that we control the warranty directly.
We've got a couple of Facebook questions.
Yeah, 6 years?
I have to take that on notice. I can't confirm that amount.
Okay. Henley's got a question, at least one question for the Facebook feed. Hunting?
So, where was that question? Disappeared. Will the original contractor still remain on the panel considering the outcome of this job?
So I assume that that's referring to the panel we're using to construct the new works, the PMA panel. I might have to check. My understanding is they're not on that panel, so the answer is no, but I'll just check.
Thank you. Right, one more from Darren.
Just a quick follow-up question. It's probably, I'm sure people will be asking. And I think that there was some sort of preliminary sort of indications that people obviously would have memberships with the people, that there would be hopefully some remedial compensation for them, so that they can, so the money that they've paid obviously to be members of the pool, that maybe the government can make some concession to them in the future in order to make up for the time that they haven't used the pool.
Yes, so that question was about whether or not the government could provide some compensation for members of the pool because of the time that it's been out of action. I think the first thing is that the membership covered people's ability to use other pools, and I know that didn't suit everybody, but some people did take advantage of that. But yes, it is something that I've asked as part of this whole lengthy story, and towards the end of this is how could we ensure that the community, that the return to the pool is celebrated in some way, and if that means that we'd have to work with the YMCA what that looks like with the memberships and how that could actually practically be carried out. But it's definitely something that I've asked the government to have a look at carefully. Yeah. And are you finishing? One more?
Yep.
So with the time frame, the current time frames to repair the pool, we're looking at December 2021, is it?
Yes, that's 2021 this year, yes?
Yeah.
Yep.
So do we have anything on that agreement if that's the time frame they're gonna go ahead of, they can't make it?
Yep.
Is there anything on the contract to make them accountable?
Don't know whether you could say that information. Well, what I can say is this, is that every fortnight we'll be updating the community, so if there is any change we can let you know. On the information in the actual contract, I'm not sure, we'd have to get some advice on whether or not that could be provided publicly, but just let us find out and we can let you know.
Okay. All right. How are you for time, Minister?
Okay.
Kevin, all right, we've got 1, 7, one here. Julia.
Thank you, Minister, for coming. I was just wondering, is Kinetic a local business?
Don't know.
And if locals were considered in the tender?
I'll have to find out for you.
Can you include in the budget a pool party?
A pool party? At your place? No.
All right. If that's the end of the question. No. No.
Yeah, because
Then I think the only job we have here is to thank you, Minister, for coming out this evening. I think we've had you speak to the Community Council now twice in less than a year.
Look
Talked about
out.
schools and education things last time, and of course there's lots going on in that space. So I set in on the consultation for the new Kenny High School state development plan. I don't know, some process that was important towards that. So there's much happening in Gungahlin in your portfolio, and hopefully lots more in the coming term of the government in terms of filling in that shortfall in community and recreation facilities here in Gungahlin. So thank you again for coming out, and thank you for taking on board our request for more information.
I'm happy to come out. I think have we got.
It's a Canberra firm.
It is a Canberra firm. Whoever asked that question.
I'm running with my flow well, but
Just before it goes on, the answer to is the company a Canberra firm? Yes, they are a Canberra firm.
sorry, one more.
Just about the other pool that's in there, is there any indication that that one's not going to experience the same problem? I know that tiles come off that one constantly and have done for years.
Right.
Are we going to have to close that one at some point as well?
I don't believe so, and the advice that I have is that that doesn't have the same kinds of issues that we're experiencing in the 50-metre pool. But I should say all the questions that you've asked me tonight, I've asked as well, and frustratingly got the same answers that I'm giving you, which is that I couldn't say very much at the start of this. But I'm trying to get as much information out there publicly before there's a need for it to be FOI'd. So put your money in your pocket, don't waste it on an FOI at this stage, just let me get to work and see what I can get out for the community. So that you've got as much information as possible. I hope that over the next this year, that as we progress towards the reopening of the pool, that we can answer all your questions, but also move on, and a pool party would be a nice way to celebrate the opening of the pool again. So we'll take that suggestion on board.
Feels like a commitment.
It sounds a bit like a commitment, doesn't it? Well.
Again, thank you very much for coming out, and for the team that came out, posted us on Thursday, and for the rest of the team who are trying to get this done. Very looking forward to coming back.
No worries, thanks.
The one thing I want to know is what you said here. So who will be sending updates to us with the questions that needs to be answered?
Someone.
I'll chase these.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
No worries, thank you.
All right. So just for those who are confused with the microphones, we have a microphone that amplifies the sound in this room, and we have a microphone that delivers sound to the virtual speakers. And unfortunately, they're different microphones, so hence this setup. Right. On with the show. I'd now like to invite Tim Daly from My Brave Australia to come up. Is Tim in the room? Yep. Didn't get a chance to catch up before. I was busy being stressed about where our speakers were, and he was here already. Do you need slides, or are you just a song dance man?
At a last minute request, do you have access to the internet?
I can have access to the internet.
Could you go on YouTube and go to the This Is My Brave Australia YouTube page?
The worst I can do is try.
Yes, doesn't matter if it doesn't work, so but it'd be good. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Felicita, for inviting me here tonight. We bumped into each other at the markets the other day, which was great. It was good to speak to her and meet her then. My name's Tim Daly. I'm a 30-year person in Gungahlin. I moved here 30 years ago, built our house here over in Ngunnawal. As you can imagine, back then there was nothing, absolutely nothing around. We had a dirt road. None of this wonderful stuff was around. There was no shops. One of my sons was one of the first students at Palmerston Primary, because there was no Ngunnawal primaries then. Both my sons went there. They both ended up at Gold Creek High School. And my wife is born and bred Canberran as well. So we're really tied to this area. And it's a wonderful area. So what is This Is My Brave? As it says there, breaking the stigma surrounding mental illness one story at a time. The statistics go that 1 in 4 people will suffer from a mental health issue in the next 12 months, which means that out of this group of people, all of those people over there will suffer from a mental health issue. Not pointing at anybody directly, but also these people all have families. So it's a ripple effect. It affects their families, affects their work. So it's a big issue in the community. It affected me. So I have my own mental health issues. I was the general manager of a local office of a international event staging company. 20 staff, 3 offices, turnover in the millions. But I always knew that I had problems with anxiety and depression, but about 7 years ago now, that they culminated in me collapsing at work. Everybody thought that I was just sick. Got taken to hospital in ambulance. The doctors checked me. I had a lumbar puncture. I had brain scans. I had everything. They couldn't find anything wrong with me. But during that time, everybody at work and everybody I worked with and all our clients sent me get well messages and got flowers and chocolates and all those sort of things that you get. It actually happened again on a flight to Sydney, and I was taken by ambulance off the tarmac at Sydney Airport, which was quite dramatic for what it was. Still, they couldn't find anything wrong with me. I was finally diagnosed with extreme anxiety. What my brain had done was said, Tim, you can't handle this anymore. Too much stress, too much anxiety, you're going to go to sleep. As soon as I announced that at work, silence. Absolute silence. I was actually actively pushed out of the company because of that. I'd been there for 16 years. So, me being someone who doesn't take those sort of things lightly, I thought, what can I do to lessen the impact of stigma, because that's what it was. It was stigma against people with mental health issues. I'd been in board meetings where they talked about people with mental health issues, about how they can get them out of the company. Not how they can help them, but how they could get them out of the company. So I decided, how can I use my event background and the fight against the stigma that I found happened to me. And I luckily came across an organisation in the US called This Is My Brave. And I rang them up and I said, can I start one in Australia? And they said, yes, go for your life. So I did. So now it's This Is My Brave Australia, which the acronym is TIMBA, which is easy to remember. And what we do, finally get to what we do, is that we hold live events around, we started in Canberra, but we also do them around the country, that we cast members of the local community with their own lived experience of mental health issues. Oh, sorry, yeah, I should be talking to it. So, of their own mental health issues to get up and tell their stories. And we have 12 people up on stage telling their stories of living with mental illness. Why and how does that break stigma? One of the things about trying to break stigma is that people who in the general community need to be able to see people with mental illness as a peer, not as their diagnosis. So we can get people up on stage and talk to you and say, instead of just saying, I've got bipolar, say, I'm a father, I'm a mother, I have a job, I have kids, I do this, I coach the local football team, I do all this. You have a different view of them. You go, oh, it's not. So you're a productive member of our community. You're not just your bipolar or your schizophrenia or whatever it happens to be. Because I've had people come up on our stage who, I've got a lawyer who's come up and spoken on our stage. She had the most traumatic childhood and has bipolar, but put herself through school, supported herself through that, and is now a lawyer, works for a government department. I have business people, I have students, I have everybody. So that's what we try and do, is get them to come up and tell their stories. They tell them any way they want, storytelling, poetry, they can sing, they can paint, they can do anything they want, whatever they want to do to get their message across to the audience. And what we have 12 people up on stage, and what we want to do is to have at least one of these people to relate to one of the audience and say, oh, they just like me. They're exactly like me. That's interesting. They're a mother, they've got kids, they've got a job, they've got to handle all these things, but they've also got bipolar. Oh, that's interesting. I never thought that you could do that. Because the media will tell you that everybody with a mental illness is psychotic, dangerous, and killers. That's what they'll tell you, but they don't tell you the other side of all the other people who are not like that. The amount of people with mental illness who are dangerous is the same amount of people in the general community who are dangerous. Same thing. So it's not peculiar to mental illness. And we do all these shows all around the country. We've done New South Wales, we've just done one in Bathurst late last year, which was a fantastic event, supported by the community. We've done them in Perth, done them in Sydney, obviously in Canberra as well. Now, that's one of the things we do. We also run the Canberra Mental Health Film Festival, which has been running, this is its 4th year. It will now be going out to the US and the UK this year. This is from Ngunnawal. Understand? This is from this place that's going out to all those countries then. So we're running that this year. There's another part of what we do, because we're all about community. We're about being on the ground and supporting people through mental illness. And one of the platforms of the ACT government recently is health and wellbeing. And we wanted to know how else can we influence health and wellbeing. So one of those things we do is, two of those things which we've just taken on, which is support, is that we run a free closed market at Canangra Court Flats, which is high density government housing, where the people who are living there are mostly, unfortunately, people with mental health issues, addiction issues, recently released from incarceration, economic disadvantage, and it's one of the older government housing units that are left in Canberra with all the others. But the problem is they've got nowhere else to house these people right at the moment. So they all, and you can imagine what the atmosphere is like. So we go in there and we have a free clothes market, and the clothes are all new because they've been donated by Big W. And so rather than tell you have these handoffs from everybody else, we say, no, you have new clothes. We respect you as people in our community, regardless of what situation you're in. Here's some new clothes. We do toiletries, we do food, we do all sorts of things, and we go directly to them. We've been doing that for the last 12 months. And very excitingly, very recently, who's become under the This Is My Brave banner are the Ngunnawal street pantries, which are fantastic, and the ladies and the men who run that. We've just been involved in the Hands Across Canberra Day appeal. We've been really pushing to get funds, and we're quite successful on that actually. It's still going now. So, but we're doing the Ngunnawal street pantries, and it's nearly exactly the same thing. Is that 4 people in their residence in Ngunnawal have set up a pantry. Now, there's one that does clothes mostly, but then kitchen items. There's another one that does women's and babies. There's another one that does toys. Another one that does men, food and pets. It's from goods donated from the community, and people can just come along and they're set up in their front yards and they can grab what they like. The thing that they want to do with the Ngunnawal street pantries is you do not need a referral to go. You do not have to fill out a form. You do not have to say what your problem is. You just can go in and say, it's open to any community member who wants to go in there. And their motto is give what you can and take what you need. So it's a fantastic initiative within the Gungahlin community. And if you can do the maths, they've got 4 sites, 15 visits per day. So times 4 sites, times 7, which is a week, times 52, adds up to over 60,000 individual visits to the pantries. Why? Did I connect with them as well? Number one, we're a registered charity, so it put them under our banner as a registered charity so they could apply for grants. But also, it's also part of the community health and well-being, supporting people in the community. That helps people's mental health. Most of the people who come to the pantries are not badly off, but they've got that gap. You know, when you get to the end of the pay cycle and you're that much short, and the kids still need to go to school and need to have some food and you need some washing powder or something like that, go along to the pantry, it's there, and just fills that gap. And that helps people's mental health because they're not stressing about, I can't provide for my family, I can't help them, I can't do this, I can't do that. Just go along, grab it, no questions asked, move on, and it fills that gap. And hopefully the next fortnight or pay period, they won't need it. So, and what they usually do is they grab some stuff of their own and bring it back, which is fantastic. So that's what we're doing at the moment, and it's fantastic. And 100% volunteer run, no one gets paid, which is the best part about it, because that's my philosophy. Unfortunately, recently, especially bushfires, some of the bigger charities have got a bad rap for where the funding is going. I want to be 100% transparent on where the funding is going, and it's going to the community, 100%. Everything goes to the community, no one gets paid. We cover our costs, obviously. And I suppose the other thing is we always need support. So corporate support of the Gungahlin community would be fantastic to help support what we're doing. And if we see another need in the community, we will jump up and try and do it as well. So, and as we were talking about, and we saw it on your notes, Peter, about an arts and activities precinct, especially a community building, that's what we look for as well, because that's where we can set up and do our events there as well. I couldn't do the film festival here in Gungahlin, even though I wanted to, though now they're building this big theatre across the road, which is fantastic for us, but there's still no community centre, which really hurts us to be able to do the next thing that we've got planned, which is a walk-in mental health centre run by the community. I know that the ACT government has started one, which is Safe Haven, which is an alternative to the ED at Calvary and Woden Hospital, but there's nothing in the community that someone with a mental health issue can go, walk in and say, I'm at a crisis point, I just need someone to talk to, I don't want to go to a doctor, because they've been to the doctor and the doctor unfortunately can't always help them, but they just want someone to talk to, to sit down and have a cup of tea. So that's our next plan, is to find a facility like that, to start up one. There's a wonderful facility that's run the same way in Adelaide, which we're looking at as a model, and it's all about people with lived experience supporting other people with lived experience, because the people with lived experience understand what they're going through, and people who are suffering want to know that other people understand them. Doctors, unfortunately, can help on a medical side, but they don't understand really what they're going through. And unfortunately, when you go to a doctor, you get 5 minutes, take a few details, give you some pills, and out the door. And unfortunately, that's the experience of most people with mental health issues. We need more community-based support for people. So we don't overload the ED, so we don't overload the GPs, because they don't really need that. They just need someone to talk to most of the time, because most people with mental health issues then unfortunately isolate themselves, and isolation is a big issue, which then can turn into self-harm. And so this all builds into also a suicide prevention program as well in the community. So that's what we do. Thank you very much for letting me have my say. Oh yeah, let's show.
I mean, we had some challenges with audio and stuff, but we can give it a punt.
So go to videos.
Videos.
Just there.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I'll show you the latest one. We'll go down to highlights. Let's see if we can get that up and going.
Okay, so let me just try and work out this. Get this microphone. Steal your microphone. Just gonna try some really dodgy stuff here.
Oh, you can take the audio off the laptop.
Got no other choice with that. Preparation.
stand by. No, that's not working. Okay. Why is it not coming up? Oh, I know.
You put it on that screen. Audio. It's so the PowerPoint is already there, so maybe oh, it comes from directly here.
Okay. It's going to escape us.
Show the video, I can talk it. That's fine.
So we just got audio. I'm sorry. Oh, hang on.
We just drag.
I don't know why I'm getting. I think it's going out the HDMI port. So I think I can try and settings. So
You may need to drag it across to the other screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you
Not confident that'll be it, but no. I suspect if we
That's all right.
that would work.
This is the highlights of our event in Bathurst.
Tim.
Sorry. As you can see, it's COVID safe, so there was a big gap between chairs, which was really weird to look out in an audience. These are 12 members of the Bathurst community, obviously getting up on stage telling their stories. That's me. That's Mark. Unfortunately, Mark had an acquired brain injury from a car accident, but also suffers from PTSD. So you can't look at someone and know their mental health. Student from Charles Sturt University, a local performer. And as you can see, we've got people who paint to express themselves, people who sing music. The guy with the tats is actually a local newspaper publisher. So, wonderful man. Sherelle is not, I was just about to say just a mother, what a terrible thing to say, is a mother of two lovely girls, but has struggled with mental health issues most of her life and just needed someone to listen and talk. At the back of the room, we also had a dozen local mental health organisations, because what we like to do is that obviously when people are in the audience and listening to these stories, if they've got any questions or want to put their hand up for help, they can just go to the back of the room and a local mental health organisation is there and they can go, there you go, this is the information you need, you can go and help. And it doesn't need to be a medical organisation, it could be anybody who helps with people with mental health issues, because obviously diet, fitness is very involved in... Oh, we've got some sound. That guy was actually a journalism professor from Charles Sturt University. So, and the best thing about it afterwards was, as you can see, people got together, and every time I do one of these shows, and I've probably done 8 of them now, is that it's the talk after the show with people coming up and telling their stories to you, which is just as important, because they feel they're in a safe space and that they can open themselves up. And a lot of people come up and say, I've never told my story to anybody before. I've never felt safe. I've never felt that I can. And in this environment, you've got 12 people up on stage sharing their stories and they say, why shouldn't I share mine now? I feel comfortable in doing it. And the amazing thing is that there's people coming up in front of the thing. People getting up on stage, telling their story about living with mental health and getting a round of applause is unheard of. It just doesn't happen. You don't go to the doctor and tell your story and you get a round of applause. You don't go to the psychologist and get a round of applause. But in your own community, getting up there, sharing what you've gone through in your life, and then getting a huge round of applause is very cathartic for most people. They go, oh, I'm actually not being shunned. I'm actually being supported and appreciated for sharing my stories. So it's not the technology's fault. I didn't line this up beforehand, so it just happened to get up on the screen. So thanks for Peter for at least putting it up there. So yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
That's all right.
Have you been busier because of COVID, or have you've only just seen this year anyway because you're still in startup mode kind of thing?
No, we're not startup mode. Been going since 2016. The problem was because we do face-to-face activities, we couldn't do them. That's why we went to Bathurst, because it was outside of the Sydney metropolitan area and outside of Canberra, so there wasn't as much COVID restrictions, but there still was, as you could see. We couldn't have as many people as we wanted. There needed to be the 4 metre square around each seat. So there was a lot of restrictions, so that stopped us from doing a lot of the face-to-face. Because we also do, as a Relista, we're at the Gungahlin markets. Thank God they've started up again, so we can go there. People come and talk to us about that. We're also, we're always involved in community events. So we're actually running one of the community events at the festival. So we're doing the mixtape choir, which is, I think, the second event on the Saturday, on the main stage. So we're doing we like to go out into community and do things, because that then drags people in the community. They see the sign, and the sign is the best thing, because they come and say, what's this about? I had so many people talk to me at the markets last time that Relista was there. It was amazing.
Right. Questions?
Yeah.
The quick question is, with the Ngunnawal Pantry, is there some way in which the Ngunnawal Pantry can communicate to, say, the Gungahlin Community Council to put out there if they need something? Because I'm sure there's lots of people in the community that probably want to contribute to it. But rather than people, it's a bit like during the fires, people were bringing things to the fires that they might not have needed. So is there any possibility they might be able to do that?
I can organise that, yeah, definitely.
I don't know how, but me personally, I get lots of Facebook posts about the pantry. I either have liked them or I've liked something that they liked, or something happened at some time and I get them. So they're pretty active.
On social media,
so
yeah.
we just need to help that down. Yeah, ready?
Yeah, just another plug on that. So they are now currently collecting hampers or doing a backpack for domestic violence affected people, so kids in particular. So if anyone has anything to donate to them, they'll be happy to put a hamper together, because they're getting something like 12, 15 domestic violence cases every day. So they're trying to support the kids and the family. So, and their Facebook page is very active, so that's the best way to like them.
Oh, well, that's something that This Is My Brave does. That's something that This Is My Brave does. We support also mental health facilities and Beryl Women's Refuge with clothing and items as well. So that's all part of the whole This Is My Brave support in the community. So.
Question over here.
It's more just a contribution, actually. I don't know how I came across it, but a while ago I signed up to this thing called Nextdoor app, and I'm not a big participant, but it seems to be lots of people who join. They say, hi, here I am, do this. There's a few groups that have formed up, and it seems to be a communication thing. And there are groups on it as well. So if that's any use to being part of that or being part of a group, this is probably exactly the thing that Nextdoor should be looking at. But I don't know if other people have had experience with it or think it's a bad or a good thing, but that's just my experience.
Yeah, no, the more we can join, the more we get the word out, the better. So, yeah. False alarm.
Right, well, thank you, Tim. And,
that's all right.
Just join with everyone else. Thank you for the great work you're doing. It's individuals in the community making something happen.
Thanks, Pete.
Okay, so let me try and get control of the microphone. So our fourth speaker today, and I won't wrestle with my laptop, is Leanne Casserly. Leanne is a Liberal member of the Legislative Assembly for the City Werribee and is one of the new MLAs in the current ACT Parliament or ACT Assembly. We like to have all of the MLAs for Werribee have a chance to come and speak to the community and for the community to speak to them and ask them questions. And she's been flexible enough to come along tonight and take up that opportunity. So without any further ado, Leanne. And so we had a quick chat about what would you like to talk about, and perhaps suggested that the first 100 days might be an interesting story to tell.
Sure.
So
Do you
I'll
want me
get
to
you to
hold
clip.
both?
Hold or
pretty
clip.
good at
Or you
it.
can just hover near this one. That's possibly easy. Or you can do it. Might make me more comfortable.
I'm pretty used to holding these things. Yeah, let me stick that in the pocket. Well, thank you for having me. It's and I want to thank the Gungahlin Community Council. You guys have just the work and the activism, hopping on board, especially the posts about the pool. It's so needed and really important. So thank you for doing that and working together. Well, the first 100 days, I have to say it's been a really steep learning curve for me and also my advisor Felicity. She's fabulous, but has also only worked in federal government, so it's been new for her as well. But we've had so many interesting and challenging times, and I have to say it's such a privilege working in the city, having the attendance of the Assembly. They're gracious and helpful at every turn. If I keep making mistakes or stand up to speak when I shouldn't, they're like, shh, not yet, just wait a second. So every one of us seem to be learning a whole bunch of new stuff and have no complaints so far. And obviously we've just come out of a sitting week and estimates. That has been the most challenging time of all so far, other than media. We've had to learn a whole bunch of new processes and rules and learning which minister to ask the questions of, and that's not been easy because at times they haven't known either. So, we've stored our questions. No, that should have been yesterday. It's like, oh, okay, no, you come back in 2 days. So we've had to be flexible and working with everybody. It's gone well, but I'm glad it's over, and we have 6 months to prepare for the next lot. Mistakes, yes, I'm sure I've made quite a few, but as I have said, the attendance and the staff at the Assembly have been so helpful. Even Joy Birch, I ran into her at the races actually. We were both there for an event, and she pulled me aside and she said, anytime you need help, Leanne, just come up to my office and I'm happy to walk you through stuff. So on all sides of government, there's just the offer to help, which is awesome. But how I'm approaching my role, I thought it would be good to just talk about that briefly, and I don't want to talk a lot. I'm happy to take questions if you've got them. But I think it's very similar to how the community council works. I believe my job is to listen and to understand the local issues and concerns, and then obviously seek robust solutions for those to fix what we can. And of course, couple of those highlights. I'm sure you've all heard about the pool. We've been talking about it for 6 months now, so it was great to see Minister Berry here tonight and finally have someone signed a contract. We'll be asking questions. If we don't get those updates, I'll continue to ask her in sitting and outside of sitting to give us updates. And Darren, I think you asked the question, was one I asked in estimates last week, is the compensation for people who have paid their fees and then have to go to the city pool and pay again to swim in that pool. There's got to be some compensation there. So yeah, we raised that and that's gone on notice. Yes, last week the TAB, the Marketplace paving, I don't know whether anyone has seen that, but it's a debacle, and we understand that work was done on the other end of Gungahlin, but not down here near the TAB. And an elderly person fell and landed on their face 6 months ago, and the paving still isn't fixed. So we shot a question off today to the Minister about that. The tram stop in Mitchell, we got a really quick response from Minister Steele's office, which I was really grateful for. Apparently we asked it the wrong way, and they still came back and said, that's okay, we'll still come back to you. So, we put a post on Facebook today. I believe this weekend the Mitchell stop will be closed, the roads in that area, so if you have to head to Mitchell, make sure you avoid that spot. but we do expect the tram stop to be running by the last half of this year. Also, in my role, I'm the Shadow Minister for Small Business, a lot of environment issues, water reduction, emissions reduction, heritage, etc. So I've been working on the Choose CBR scheme. I believe Gungahlin did have a pretty good take-up of that, but overall I felt it was very disappointing. So of the 30,000 ACT businesses, only 2,000 were eligible to take part, and I think something like 336 actually took part. So that's disappointing. The admin fees were off the scale. So I did speak with Minister Chain about that and offered what I thought was a good way forward, and we're yet to hear what's happening there, but I do think it might need to go back to the drawing board and make it simpler for everybody. And also we called on the Labor Greens government. There's been a failure to review the climate and emissions legislation. So it came into effect 10 years ago, and there was supposed to be a review 5 years into it, and we believe that was an internal review that didn't really get released to the Assembly, and the 10-year review was due in October last year, and it hasn't been done yet. So I called on Minister Rattenbury to give us an update on that, and has it started? Why not? When we can expect that? So I do take my job really seriously, and I'm humbled by the role. I have to say the things that I enjoy most are the times that we're in the electorate. It is very easy to spend a lot of time in the Assembly, but my goal is to have that not be the case. Fridays are our Yerrabee Day, as every week, but more often if we can. And you know, we have a great time getting out and door knocking, doing mobile offices, and meeting different businesses. So that's what we do, and that's what I see as the most important part of my role. I am elected by all of the people of Yerrabee. Whether I have been elected or not, I'm there to represent you. So please stay in touch with me. I'm keen to know any issues that you would like raised, anything that I can ask the government about, and that's what I do. So thank you for having me.
All right. The other half. All right. There.
I'm just going to have to change hats for a second over to the Friends of Yerrabee Ponds.
Yes.
One of the questions that we've run into when we've talked to the business people who've been along the ponds is that unfortunately they've had a lot of MLAs and a lot of people promise that they're going to do something for Yerrabee Ponds.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I'm finding it very difficult with this new organisation to give them hope and faith that we're going to actually put the rubber to the road and actually do something for Yerrabee Ponds. And one of the things that we're after is, best to say, tripartisan support from all of the political parties in order to come together and actually do something for Yerrabee Ponds. And I guess what I want to know is that for you personally, would you be interested in supporting us and being able to do something, you know, special for Yerrabee Ponds, and actually get some funding and get something really done? I mean, basic things like bins and lighting for Yerrabee Ponds have just been so hard for me to do over the last 5 years. Even with the Community Council support, I haven't been able to get these issues pushed through and get some actual funding for Yerrabee Ponds. So I'm hoping what your personal opinions on that might be.
Yeah, thank you. So the question was about, just for Facebook, the funding, trying to get funding for Yerrabee Pond, obviously bins, lighting. I'm really on board with that. As we all heard, it was tripartisan support, and in the shadow, it's a little difficult to get funding, but like I have done with the pool, I'm on the job to make sure that if I can, where I can, I will continue to ask the government, Minister Gentleman, to be on the planning and getting that fixed, because I feel exactly the same, and I know Gold Creek Pond, I believe, is in exactly the same situation. So there's some questions that I've got about that as well, but I'm totally on board. So whatever I can do in my position, I will support, work for. I've signed the petition. Yes, I've asked people to sign the petition. I take it with me when we do our mobile offices to get people to sign it. So it's definitely something I'm working for.
Thank you. The petition man himself.
The petition man himself, Mr. Beagle. Hey.
I understand
through Michael Patterson, there's 300,000 in the current budget specifically earmarked for parking around the pond, basically near D'Annunzio's restaurant. Apparently in that area there was going to be 30 new parking spots or more. Now that's an appalling state there, trying to get parking both for the residents and for visitors. I understand in the past there's been allocations made, but then without any advice they've been diverted, and one of those cases I'm told is the exercise facility that's there, which effectively would cater for a very, very few people. But can we have some effort perhaps directed towards making sure that 300 grand does go towards parking, because the people who run businesses have been very severely disadvantaged for a long time, and it's not fair.
Yeah, thanks, John. So the question was about parking along Yarrabee Pond there, especially near D'Annunzio. I was there for dinner the other night and found exactly that. We had to park miles up the road, so it's bad for residents and the shops. And Michael Pedersen has said that there is $300,000 somewhere towards parking. I don't know anything about that, so I'll take that on notice and look into that. Thanks.
Yeah, just having had some experience with these things, the roads and parking and things like this come in two buckets of funding. There's a bucket of funding to plan or design what's going to be built, then you go to tender and actually have money to build what's actually built. So 300,000 doesn't sound like a lot to me, and that may in fact be just a design piece of work, but I really don't know. I did speak to Michael, I'm going to say it was last week, it's something like that last week, and he said he was talking to Minister Steele about that allocation and trying to make it land and then make the allocation bigger. We have, we the Community Council had a presentation, I'm going to say it was 4 years ago, but it could have been longer, of a complete design to put parking spaces in the median strip in the middle of Hamilton Avenue, angle parking in there. And so the design was done, so someone paid for the design, but then of course no money was found to actually build
Do the work.
I have some level of confidence in the strong tri-party support and the visibility of the petition that things will progress, but we've got to find a way in which we convert the friends, which we can establish ourselves. I think perhaps the parking structure is the right way to do that. And it's going to advocacy. We also need to make sure we're all rowing in the same direction, because there are actually a bunch of groups already in there doing stuff around the little bicycle track and so on. And we need to bring those all along. But Darren and John and the other 4 members of the core executive are well across that. So I think it's pretty positive. Generally.
Great.
Anyway, that's the add-on parking. But if you can ask Michael to dig for further details about, is the 300k real bitumen or is it just more designs? That would be great, and would also be great to have someone to talk about it.
And we've got a Facebook page now too.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay.
Facebook page for Yarrabee Pond friends.
Right, yep.
Thank you.
Sorry, Peter, whatever you said, you have to...
Do you want me to reiterate? So Peter was just chatting, for those on Facebook, Peter was just chatting about the $300,000 doesn't seem like an amount enough to build parking, so it might just be the design phase. The Gungahlin Community Council did go through a process of proposing parks up Nellie Hamilton, angled parking, so that's been done, but there was no money for the rubber hits the road type of work. So I will chat with Michael Pedersen or even Chris Steele if I can and ask when we'll get something in the budget for that. So that's the nutshell. That's in a nutshell. Thank you. Hello.
Hi Leanne, thanks very much for coming along.
No worries.
Look, just picking up on the Friends of Yarrabee Pond, good initiative, that's great, but then I would probably counter ask from a government perspective why they need it, because we've got a huge amount of development going on in Gungahlin, we've got apartments going up everywhere, building approvals up the kazoo, and the government is benefiting from that with all the development fees, etc. So I was a bit bemused with the comment from Minister Gentleman, who was just basically ignoring issue with extra toilets or whatever. So I don't understand how Gungahlin is charging ahead. It's the highest growth suburb in Canberra, yet they can't do lawn mowing, or they can't do rubbish bins, or they can't do whatever. So I guess I'm asking, apart from funding, is taking the challenge to the minister saying, what are you thinking?
So I think the question is basically why is there a need for the Friends of the Yerrabee Pond when the government knew how big Gungahlin was going to be, and you know there's all of the building that's going on. Why isn't the government funding more mowing, etc., when we have such a large area? And to be honest, I can't answer that question other than to say I understand, and we'll ask the government I'll push them for what we need, because that's my job. If they're not doing something that we think they should, then I will ask them for, you know, work as far as that goes. I do believe I heard something this week about caretaker periods, and when an area is done, it's sort of after a couple of years sort of handed off, if that's the right way to go. You know, New Ford sort of gets done and the dog park, and then it's sort of established, and after a few years then things move on to other areas. So I don't know, but I will keep asking those questions. When you raise them with me, I'll ask the government, but hopefully we'll get more lights, more bins, more mowing, etc. Hello.
Hello, Lynn Perry.
Hi, Lynn.
Gungahlin is the only area that does not have residential aged care facility. Most people call it nursing homes. Every other area in Canberra does. I've got this, and I've asked the Minister Gentleman, he's moved me on to Eric Davidson. No one wants to address this problem.
Okay.
We have 2 independent living units.
Yes.
In Gungahlin. No plans for residential aged care. So when your partner needs to go into residential aged care and you don't drive, you've got a real problem.
So the question is more a statement that we're the only area that doesn't have aged care facilities at all. So if your partner is ready to go into an aged care facility and you don't drive, that is a difficult situation. So Mr. Gentleman has moved you on to Emma Davidson, is that correct? Well, yes, I don't know what the plans are either. I know we've been talking about it sort of along the corridor. So I'll find out who on our side of the fence is responsible for aged care and see if I can get some questions asked for you as well. No worries.
Yeah, just one.
Come on up here, Peter.
Point on that. The Gold Creek Homestead site, one of the options for the development of that site is residential aged care. The tenders for the site have all been submitted, are being evaluated, and at some point we will find out what that site's going to be used for, but I would be very surprised if it doesn't have some element of residential aged care, and we'll just have to see how that tender process plays out. But it's very, very obvious that that is one of many areas in community services we are grossly underserved.
Oh, desperately needed, yes.
Yep, there's a question. Sorry.
I'm also from Yerrabee Pond. One of the problems that we have there is not just parking. It's also we have a 10km/h speed limit across where Denunzio's is through that particular area there.
Right.
I've seen parents get out of cars, put their children out on the grass, and